Hello, everybody. Welcome to Facet Nation. It is episode 3. We are going to be talking all about observation today. I'm Lucinda, FGA.
Oh shit! Sorry to interrupt you. Carry on. That's
Whatever,
the big moment.
Simon. Those were my. Do you know how hard I've worked for those 3 letters? Fuck's sake.
Okay, yeah. Try that again. Rewind.
I'm Lucinda Beeman, FGA.
Woo! As it might go now.
Yeah.
Okay, right, yeah, fine. And I'm Simon Barber, FGA, DGA.
Whoa, he's got six letters. So for those who don't know, we just got our exam results back. It was 9:30 in the morning. I was on the bus. I got a text from Simon that just said, results, email. It was a stressful way to start the day, but how did it pan out, Simon?
So yeah, I got the email and was like, oh shit. And I don't know about you, but my email came through without the password email.
Yeah, they sent it in a separate password, but by the time I got mine, I had both.
Well, I didn't. So I was like, they were like, we'll send you the password to access the file in another email. And I'm like, send the fucking password.
As if there was any doubt that you would pass, Simon.
So I was like, shit. And then, yeah, then I had a phone call. Someone phoned me. So I was like, oh my God, I can't open the file. And then I kind of took myself off to the bathroom, actually. I'm not going to lie.
Were you at work or were you at home?
I was at work, yeah.
Oh, shit. What time do you start?
Like 9:15.
Oh, okay. That's all right.
And then I took myself off to the bathroom and, yeah, read it and had a cry.
I had a cry too. I was on the corner of Black Horse Road. I just left my boyfriend on the bus saying, oh, I hope it's this week. And just burst into tears. I was screaming. Someone actually asked me if I was okay.
Like wailing on the side of the road.
Wailing. It was just such a feeling of overwhelming relief.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. I was like, my God, that is done and dusted.
But also we were saying awkward as fuck if we'd had to keep doing this podcast and one of us hadn't passed.
Yeah, that would have been pretty bad. Yeah, no, I'm really quite glad that didn't happen. As testament to Craig, the greatest tutor on earth's excellent skills, I suppose.
Honest, because not only did Simon and I pass, and I will say we're pretty fucking smart, Simon, and also we love gems. But everybody in our class passed. We had a class of incredible people, incredible gemologists. Everybody has passed, but 100%. It's so down to Craig. So thank you, Craig, wherever you are.
Yeah, Craig, you did an excellent job. Thank you so much. Right. So shall we get into it?
Yeah, enough patting ourselves on the back. Let's talk about how we got there.
Yeah.
Squinting in a dark room.
Exactly. So last episode, we established what should be in the gem kit. And this episode, we're going to talk about how to use the stuff that's in the gem kit. No, well, not necessarily all of it. More or less just the loupe and how to have a look at stones and make a first initial impression as to what you think they are and try and clarify that. Exactly.
So this is the very start of what it means to be a practical gemologist, which is using a loupe and a bit of light and different kinds of light to try and figure out what the fuck you're looking at. And really it becomes a bit of a mantra in your head when you start testing stones.
Definitely.
It's the same 5 things. There's actually something you left off of your sheet, Simon. I'm wondering if you'll mention it. Measurements.
Yeah. Yeah. We established in the last episode we don't do that. We just write lol.
That's what all the FGAs do.
Yeah, exactly. We don't do that bit. Just write lol, whatever.
But this is like, I would say, the fun part of gem testing. This is the observation, like the training your eye, and also when you start getting really geeky about lustre and inclusions, it's such a joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also a bit of an easy mark farmer, I would say, commenting on surface features, but we'll get into all of that. So, yeah, Simon, where do we start?
Well, no, I'm just going to say that's quite a good point to make for students that are listening to this. This is where you pick your marks up. This is when you sort of bump yourself up, as Craig used to say, from being like getting your pass grade and trying to get up into the upper echelons of getting a higher percentage by sort of making all these really specific observations. So first things first, let's talk about what these 5 things are. Yeah,
and it's nice. What I like to do is I like to just, every time I turn a new page, I just write these things down, and then you know kind of where you're at. So it's
just so you don't miss
color.
one.
Well, and I wonder if we have different orders. So my order was always color, luster, transparency, shape/style of cut, and then measurements. I always did measurements last because, of course, I didn't have a ruler.
Yeah, I mean, if there was absolutely no order, you saw some of my papers, and there was no order whatsoever to how I used to write things. Everything was like over here, and like, yeah, it's pretty chaotic, but you know, it got the job done. So yeah, that's the things. We're talking about using a loupe. There is a best practice for using a loupe, and I think we mentioned it briefly in the last episode. You want it as close to your face as you can, and the thing you're looking at a similar sort of distance. Anchor it, keep your elbows secure, and yeah, just make everything nice and steady.
What I like to do is I like to touch my face with my thumb, then I kind of know where I'm at.
So you've got your loupe. You need a reliable light source.
I have a couple of different varieties, which we talked about last time.
Yeah. But I suppose specifically now we'll talk about like the daylight lamp, which you get the material or the specimen underneath it and within it. So it creates a cone, yeah? If you've got a lamp, you create a cone of light. And the first thing you should be looking at is reflected light. So you want that sort of right in the cone of light and trying to get the light bouncing off the facets, and that's going to tell you like the luster. It's going to let you see the surface of the stones, and everything basically that you can see by reflecting light off the stone.
Exactly. So that act of bouncing the light off of the surfaces makes them really clear to you, so you can see exactly what's going on there, and also how light is interacting. So because of their chemical properties, certain stones will just be brighter and livelier than others by nature, and it's a very desirable property. It's why diamonds are diamonds. I would say that, and probably their toughness and hardness. But definitely light is so, when you start becoming a gemologist, playing with it and the different angles of it becomes a real joy. So if you can, I would suggest really taking your time to get to know how things are illuminated in different places within a light source, if that makes sense, like different places in that cone.
Yeah, I completely agree, because if you are looking at, so using top illumination, which is when we're reflecting light and you've got you're in the cone of light, then you're not going to be able to see inside the stone, which is the next lighting technique that we'll talk about, and we call that transmitted light.
So transmitted light is when you're on the edge, rather than reflecting off of the surface of the stone, the light is running through the stone. And what that basically means is you can see what's going on inside. And this is also a technique that we can use in this when we're using the spectroscope, which is a different conversation for another day. But being able to see what's going on inside the stone is incredibly important to ID the stone, but also if you're shopping for a stone, you want to know what's going on in there, because often you can buy a stone, it looks great, you have it set. When it's set, you can suddenly see a whole jungle of inclusions you had no idea were in there. So very important to look inside a stone, look carefully, and do it with the right light.
Absolutely, because when you're buying a stone and you want to be observing and any durability issues that there might be with the stone, because a loose stone isn't under any pressure, but when you put claws around it and things, you're applying pressure to it, you can cause damage. And then what you don't want is to give your stone to a setter, the setter push the claw down on it, and then it'd be in 2 parts, because it's going to have to be recut and probably not fit in the setting that it's made for.
Well, and that stone might just be a write-off. And what we've also had, and this is very, we've sold beautiful stones, really, really beautiful stones. This happens a lot with sapphires, actually, which are an incredibly popular stone. But they also can have color zoning. They can have natural inclusions, which we'll talk about in many episodes to come, I'm sure. But when you set something, something that was a feather, for example, that was once invisible is now going to have gold at its back, right?
Yeah.
And so suddenly you can see it. And we always say, once you see an inclusion, you just can't unsee it. It's all you're going to see when you look at that stone.
Yeah, you know
so
where
unless
it is,
unless your client really loves fluid-filled feathers, you're a bit fucked on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I quite like fluid-filled feathers sometimes.
I think gemologists are the best people to buy stones for, because we actually like the fucked up ones.
The
like,
shit
give
ones.
me the
Yeah,
20-pound green sapphire.
Yeah.
I'm so
With all
down.
manner of weird shit in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically the external features that you're looking at are sort of scratches on the surface, any sort of rounding of facet edges, any molding marks if it's sort of paste, for example, and any chips, abrasions and things like that. And then the internal ones are basically the inclusions and the zoning and the things like that. So if we move on to our checklist now, I think you said the first one that you address is the color of the stone, which I would say is probably the biggest driving factor in colored gemstones for value.
Absolutely. And also need to be reported in a very specific way. And you're not allowed to be creative about it really at all. So you're allowed to have two colors. The first color kind of the undertone, and the second color is the major player. So if you had like a yellow-green sapphire, it would be mostly green, but a little yellow.
Yeah, so if your stone is yellowish green, for example, your primary hue would be green, and the secondary hue is yellow. So it's like a yellowish green.
But do not get creative. Craig always, shout out to Craig. Do not use marketing names. So there is no such thing as a cornflower blue sapphire when it comes to testing stones. There's no such thing as periwinkle. There's no such thing as mint.
Yeah.
Right. Get your mint tourmalines out of here.
Yeah, exactly. You can't call it that. That needs to be like a yellowish green, I suppose. Green.
Well, I would actually say a pale green, because you can describe the depth of the color.
Yeah.
So you can say a pale blue, you could say a deep blue. You can't say a royal blue. Get that word out of your mouth.
Yeah, so the way you address color is you need the primary hue, the secondary hue, and then basically the tone and saturation. So whether it's light, dark, intense, deep, vivid. Like if you look at how they grade like yellow diamonds, for example, they have like a whole sort of weird thing, and it goes from light to yellow to vivid to
intense.
Yeah, but they're kind of different areas of, so yeah, you can sort of maneuver around that, and that's like looking at GIA reports or any gem lab reports is a good way of seeing how color is properly recorded.
Because it is subjective in the way that all of our eyes and all of our brains are interacting in different ways, which is part of what makes an emerald green, which we will talk about at some point. But there are industry standards, and there also is a huge value judgment based on what color you decide something is. So a stone that is a corundum that is pink is a pink sapphire. A stone that is a corundum that is red is a ruby, and rubies are more expensive in many cases than diamonds per carat. So when you're making that call, it's not just you and like your eye that's gonna have to pay for what you've chosen.
I was just thinking actually, because like as much as we say we don't use marketing names as such, if you get a certificate that tells you that your ruby is pigeon blood, which obviously is not a real color, then you're onto a bit of a winner then.
Would they say that on a cert?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, like
would they not just say like Burmese ruby?
No, a GRS certificate will say showing this stone is exhibiting the color referred to as pigeon blood and therefore worth a shitload of money.
Nice. Well, Pariba tourmaline's another, or actually Padparasha sapphire is probably a better example, which is, this color distinction that makes a huge difference in the value of a stone. Is it peach enough, or is it too pink? And one lab can decide one way and another lab can decide another way.
Exactly right. Yep.
Padparasha is a scam. That's what I believe.
Do you?
I just don't think they look good on me. So what's the point?
Fine. I mean, if they don't look good on you, then what's the point? What's the point? Yeah. No, that's cool.
Whereas a Paraiba tourmaline is a real thing and a lagoon tourmaline is fake.
Yeah. As in...
Paraiba is a region, though.
I mean, it's still a real thing. It's just not...
It's a marketing name.
Yeah. Are they not copper-bearing lagoon ones?
I think they are.
Surely they're Paraiba then. But
I think Paraiba technically has to be from Paraiba.
I don't know if it does anymore, no, because you get the...
You can get a Paraiba light color.
Yeah.
Was it Mozambique you can get those from?
Yeah, and is it Nigeria too?
It might just be Nigeria.
You can get, but they're still called Paraiba tourmaline, I think, if they've got enough copper in them.
And electric enough is what they have to be.
But anyway, we should probably clarify that before we make, because
we're going to edit this out.
Yeah, people will be in the comments going, "You're idiots! Don't listen to anything they say."
That's positive engagement.
Yeah,
maybe not
right.
episode 3.
Okay, right. Let's move on to the next one on the checklist, which is lustre. Tell us about lustre.
Lustre.
Yeah.
I still find, because I started my gemology journey just as somebody who bought jewelry every once in a while, I still can find lustre really, really tricky to pick out. I can tell the difference between an adamantine lustre and a vitreous or a bright vitreous. But sometimes I'm on that struggle bus when it's vitreous versus bright vitreous, and it could be a tourmaline or it could be a sapphire. I'm like, girlie, I don't want to make that call until I've seen more.
Well, should I tell you what I used to do? Is leave it blank until I figured out what it was and then write what was in the book.
Totally. And that's just a life hack, y'all.
Yeah, because I think it's nonsense as well. But anyway, let's talk about lustre and how important it is.
But it is, because to your experience of a stone, it is so important.
No, you're
and
right,
you can see when you put a demantoid garnet next to basically anything, you're like, fucking hell, that demantoid blows everything else out of the water.
Yeah, unless it's all scuffed up and knackered.
So, all right. No demantoid hate in this chat.
No, I'm not hating on it. It's just really delicate.
So lustre is defined as the character of the light as it reflects off of the surface of a stone.
Yeah, should we give it the course notes definition?
This is one of those course notes definitions. You have to have word for word.
Yeah, and that is the quality and quantity of light returned or reflected from the surface of a material.
And there's a few different kinds, and then there's a couple of different stones that are really helpful to have in mind.
Yeah, so
do you want to go through them, Simon?
Yeah, so the brightest one is specific to diamond and is called adamantine and comes from the Latin word adamus, which means diamond. And that is basically the brightest, most reflective luster you can get from a transparent material, from a material like a gemstone, basically.
Yeah, and it's absolutely stunning. It's the bright, beautiful white flashes. It's also sparkly. Basically, I think of luster as the sparkle meter. How sparkly is this bitch going to be? Yeah,
that's exactly what sparkle is, I suppose. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
I think technically it's brilliance. Then there's sub-adamantine, which I really like because it's got 2 very distinct gemstones that have a sub-adamantine luster. One is demantoid, much maligned by Simon, and the other is zircon, which everyone thinks is shit, but we both have a lot of time for. But Simon in particular loves a zircon.
I love a zircon, but not necessarily the ones with the sub-adamantine luster, because I like the metamic ones that are decaying and dying. And some of that luster dulls a little bit when they eat themselves from within. We'll talk a lot about zircons, particularly metamic ones, in the future.
And if you're doing the Gem A course and going for an exam, I almost feel like the zircon is the comfort stone, because whatever form it comes in, there's so many ways of telling what it is.
Yeah,
and this sub-adamantine luster is one of the big ways. It just gives you this hint before you even start looking at it.
Yep, that's true. So next we move on to bright vitreous, which is still pretty bright, pretty reflective,
sparkly.
Pretty glossy, I would say.
These are the horse girls, these two. It's so typical to me that these 2 stones would have a bright vitreous luster. What are they, Simon?
Like ruby and sapphire, is that what we're referring to? Rubies
the popular
and sapphires.
girls in high school.
Yeah. They're like nice and bright. They're like, it's an all
Good at
round.
everything,
Yeah.
but not too good. Not so good that you feel insecure, you know?
No, you're right. Yeah. But like solid, nice and bright. Does a bit of this, bit of that. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Just a little better than you. That's what ruby and sapphire is.
So next down on the list, we go with just normal vitreous, which is not quite as bright vitreous, weirdly.
Most things are vitreous. So I would say when in doubt, go vitreous.
Yeah, because you could probably get away with calling a ruby or a sapphire vitreous if it's not quite polished as well as it could be. It's fair, isn't it? Yeah.
I think it's fair, although I've seen like really banged up, like garnet rough, for example, and but those motherfuckers are shining.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And I think there's like a true luster that every stone chemically will show.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I love a tourmaline, so justice for tourmalines. Yes,
I like a tourmaline too. Yeah, and like your quartzes and things like that, they're going to be sort of vitreous.
So nothing too impressive. I think vitreous to me is like people will look at it and they'll be like, "Oh, is that real?" Because they just can't tell by the dazzle alone.
Okay, yeah, I see.
So like amethyst, nobody ever really quite thinks amethyst is real.
No, it's just, yeah. I mean, those sorts of stones are so sort of relatively inexpensive that you tend to only see like the good versions of them, right?
Exactly. And then there's some wild lusters, and these ones, they get pretty descriptive, but they have to be applied correctly.
They're pretty self-explanatory as well, though, aren't they? So, like, if you look at something, for example, and you think it looks waxy, then the luster is waxy.
And that's mostly what stone, Simon?
Turquoise can look a bit waxy.
I also think amber can look a bit waxy, but apparently it's not. It's resinous.
Well, so amber can look waxy as well as resinous, I think. I think that's sort of goes either way.
Just a judgment call.
Yeah, and there is actually a luster called pearly as well, which refers to pearls, weirdly.
How amazing.
I know, who'd have thought that? And then
metallic, the hellscape of lusters for me. I'm like, is it metallic? Is it just super shiny? But the two of my least favorite minerals, I would say.
The hematite and the pyrite.
Yeah, fuck those guys.
Like the gold and the silver of the gem world.
Well, and hematite, we'll talk about habits and stuff later, but the botryoidal habit with the metallic luster, that is a cursed combo.
I love that shit. No, I really like it. That's a
undulating lump of like fat metal. It's so gross.
I liked it when Craig used to say hummocky.
A hummocky mass.
Yeah.
Like, let's not make this personal, Craig.
Yeah.
So those are your lusters.
Yep.
I would say when in doubt, just look at loads and loads of gems. When in real doubt, leave it blank and come back at the end.
Yeah, probably that.
And I was reading about spinels today, actually, which I love, the dark horse of the jewelry world. I think many gemologists actually love spinels. What's their luster? Remind me. Do you know off the top of your head?
Bright vitreous?
I think it's bright vitreous.
Yeah, I would have said so. Yeah, I think so.
I found the most beautiful spinel at Crystal Mists in London. It's 4.31 carats. This like beautiful kind of dusky rosy pink, but like dark.
Well, that sounds
and
nice.
It's so beautiful, perfectly cut. And I visit it every Tuesday and Thursday, and I take videos of it, and I just sit next to my boyfriend on the couch and watch the videos over and over again, hoping he gets the hint.
Showing them to him. Yeah. It's subtle. I'm sure he's like, I wonder what she's doing.
I'm a woman of few words. What can I say?
Yeah. No, I think you're probably making a fairly good point.
Yeah. Send it to him. Anyway, what's next on our list?
Transparency, which is pretty self-explanatory, to be fair.
It seems like it is, but I think there are some caveats that come to transparency. So transparency is basically the question, can you see through it?
Yeah. So tell us the caveats then.
So it is transparent if you can see through it.
Yes, literally.
So if you can put your stone down on a piece of paper and you can still read the question, that's a pretty good start to tell you it's transparent. But lots of stones are actually translucent, So they are included, or there's lots of stuff going on, or they're very, very dark. And that means they're not technically transparent, but you can get light through. So if you can allow any light through, you've got a translucent stone. So something like nephrite or jadeite, which you might think is not is opaque, that you can't see through. If light can get through, your girl is translucent.
And
but there's also like sub-translucent and like sub-transparent.
Okay.
Let's talk about opaque, and then we can talk about being sub things.
So an example of an opaque material, i.e. you can't pass any light through it, would be like your malachites and things like that. It's literally solid, like no light's getting through it. You can't
Lapis lazuli.
Yeah, that sort of shit. Yeah. Yeah.
And then you have to start thinking about so I wouldn't say, in terms of transparency, I would only mess with sub. So if something is mostly translucent, but like a little bit clearer than that, and you can feel your way through this, but things can be sub-transparent and sub-translucent. So just keep that in mind as you're going through your gemology journey.
Slightly less than.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
She's almost there, but she's not quite.
Fine.
And this actually applies to lustre as well. You can have a sub-metallic lustre. Can you? Did I make that up?
Well, that sounds like a thing, actually. I don't know how
I swear I've heard Craig say that before.
Yeah, so it's kind of metallic, but not quite metallic enough.
We will have Craig on the show, by the way, guys. So we will take you directly to the source, the font of all knowledge.
And he'll just tell us that we've been talking shit the whole time, and we're like, we're getting everything wrong.
But that's fine because we're FGAs, so it's just 3 FGAs in a room.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Okay. Moving swiftly on. Let's talk about shape and cut. So, you get your rough material, you dig it out of the ground. What are you doing with it?
Selling it.
Okay.
Well, first, to get the most money out of it, you may want to fashion it.
Yes.
And colored stones in particular. I mean, so you've got something here about diamonds. I don't love diamonds. I'm trying. Diamonds are a little bit easier because there's a mathematical formula that will tell you how to make your diamond as beautiful as possible, and that is the round brilliant cut. Simon, tell us about the cursed round brilliant.
So the round brilliant cut was invented by a guy called Tolkovsky, and he worked out all the different angles with the light needed to enter.
It was his PhD dissertation. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I know. Wild, eh? But he figured out how you are to fashion a diamond in order to make it return as much light as possible from the incident light that enters it, basically. And he worked out all the angles and this particular facet arrangement. So when you've got your rough material, you decide you're going to make your gem more beautiful by either faceting it or sort of just polishing it so it looks a bit brighter. And the round brilliant cut has 57 facets. It's got one table facet. And that number
is worth remembering.
Definitely, yeah, because there'll be questions about this sort of stuff. So you've got a table facet, which is the top flat one, and then you have 8 star facets. Now, another thing to note is that you should learn how to draw one of these, because that will come up. And actually, it's just a nice thing to be able to do. And it's quite easy. We possibly could post a tutorial or something on doing that.
Yeah, we'll put it on our Instagram and our TikTok. Keep an eye out.
So, yeah, we've got a table facet. Then the star facets go around the table. And then there's 8 of those. And then you've got 8 kite facets, which are the ones sort of in between. And then you have 16 upper girdle facets, which go around the outer edge. The outer edge is called the girdle. So that's the sort of rounded outline of the round brilliant cut. And then on the underside, the pavilion, take it away. What do we have down there?
We've got 8 pavilion main facets and then 1 or none coulées. So the coulée, I've been trying to find ways to describe this to the client. It's the pointy bit of the diamond. It's the very bottom. And on many stones, there isn't one, and that is totally acceptable. So my former engagement ring, massive flaw in the center of the stone, fine. No coulée, also fine. So lots of antique stones in particular, they just whack it off. It was too hard. They're over it. And that is totally acceptable in terms of a round brilliant cut. Another thing that's really important with the round brilliant is the tolerances. So every cut has to be at a specific angle to reflect the most light and to balance the brilliance, which is the white flashes of light, and the fire, which is the rainbow. We'll talk about all of this in lots and lots of excruciating detail. Simon can read you all of the tolerances in his very soothing voice. But what I have noticed just seeing it like this, and I hadn't noticed it until now, is how symmetrical the number of facets actually is. So it's 1, 8, 8, 16, 16, 8, 1.
Yeah. So one table, 8 star, 8 kite, 16 upper girdle, 16 lower girdle, 8 pavilion. And then the coulée is actually an extra facet. So that would make it 58 if it has one. So there's 57 or 58 if it has a coulée facet. And you tend to only get a coulée if the bottom's a bit misaligned. So if it's cut perfectly, you shouldn't really have one.
And things are a little bit more complicated with colored stones because you're thinking about, there's a lot more to think about. So you have to think, you're never going to get the kind of luster and the kind of fire and brilliance that you would get off of a diamond. But what you do have is color. So how do you best display the color of a stone while you also retain as much carat weight as possible, hide or display an inclusion based on what it is? So if there's color zoning or party color, how do you enhance that? If there's loads of feathers and crazy shit in there, how do you hide it? And so the shape and cut of colored stones, many of which are actually being cut at this mine or mine side, can get a little bit bebop, and that's where the mixed cut comes in.
Yeah, so a mixed cut would be like you would facet it like you would a round brilliant cut on the top to give it, to make it look nice and symmetrical and all that stuff. And then on the underside, which you don't really see, you might want it to be a bit deeper to retain some of the color so the light stays in the stone a bit more and can interact with all those color causing elements. And you might just want to make it heavier because like your stone's going to be sold on its weight. And if you can make a stone
Price per carat is real, baby.
If you can make a stone weigh 2 carat, if you cut it to a perfect round brilliant cut, it's only going to weigh 1 carat 70, then you're going to make a lot more money by it weighing 2 carat.
Well, and you also have to remember a lot of colored stones they keep their weight in their belly. So
yeah, exactly.
You could make a beautiful, perfect stone. Jewelers don't like to buy deep stones because they're really, really hard to set. But what they do have is incredible color payoff. Mm-hmm. And so that's the compromise that you're making as a setter, as a cutter, and as a jeweler.
Absolutely. So you'll find that these are the mixed cuts. They have like the step down facets on the underside and then the sort of brilliantier at the top.
Do you have a favorite cut?
It depends on the stone, actually, because I think some stones lend themselves better to different cuts. I guess I naturally like an emerald cut, so like a step cut, straight facets. So it draws your eye into the stone. Naturally, I like that sort of shape, but
I like that too. I like it clean, but I like the color payoff. I just think there's something really pleasing about having 8 sides. I don't know why. I'll take it long. I'll take it square. I just want that kind of octagon emerald cut.
Yeah, so there are a few step cuts, and what we mean by step cut is that the facets kind of step down into each other, like steps meeting in the middle. And that would be like the emerald or the octagonal outline cut. And then there's a baguette cut, which is a rectangle without the corners cut off, so not an octagonal shape. The asher cut, which is like the square version of the emerald cut, and then a carré cut, which is an asher cut without the corners cut off.
So what we've been seeing a lot is cushion cut sapphires. So cushion is a bit of a diamond cut, but it returns a lot of light. It's really sparkly and lovely. And sapphire has the luster to be able to return that kind of light. And so we've been seeing some really lovely, I wouldn't say it's, strict cushion cut, but like cushion adjacent cuts, which set so nicely into big, sparkly, beautiful American style rings that I love.
Well, cushion cuts are a big thing at the moment because of a certain Taylor Swift, perhaps. Stay
tuned for more.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay, so we talked about faceting stones. There are other ways of cutting stones or polishing stones, should I say, to like non-faceted. So these tend to be stones that are either got lower durability, and they don't want all these edges because you're gonna, if you knock them, you're gonna chip them and cause damage. Or they might just be less transparent stones. So you're not worried about the light going in them. And the main cut that we use is called the cabochon cut, or en cabochon in French, which I learnt today means a little head, or in the manner of a small rounded head.
I'm suddenly seeing all of my cabochon jewelry in a very different way.
And just imagining a bald man's head.
Just little brains in there.
Poking up through the setting.
Bonjour.
Hello. Hello. So, yeah. You could draw some little hairs on it or something, Homer Simpson style.
Well, and speaking of drawing, there's actually a few different kinds of cabochon cuts, and they're really good to know because questions do come up on this. You'd think it's so silly that they wouldn't, but in the exam, they love to make you draw a hollow cabochon.
Yes, the carbuncle, as it were.
So the standard cabochon has a flat base and a domed top, really durable, really easy to set because they do have that flat base. So like anybody, you can be set basically in anything, which is nice. But basically everyone's looking at the stone that they have in front of them and trying to make a call about how to make it as beautiful as possible. So you've got a medium. So I guess the medium is like the standard cabochon cut.
Yeah.
Then you have a flat one where if you can't quite get that height, that's fine. It almost looks like a cough lozenge. A double cabochon where both sides are kind of curved. This is really good for weight retention. Or if you have, I feel like I see this a lot with like moonstones and things like that.
Yeah, so if you find like a nice quality stone. So I was looking today at a really good cat's eye tourmaline, and it had a really nice deep dome on the top, but then it had quite a deep dome on the bottom. And obviously this is going to be quite valuable material because the cat's eye was really nice on it. We're going to talk about cat's eyes in a minute, actually. Clearly cut for weight retention to try and retain some value or keep some, make it sell for more.
Cat's eye chrysoberyl as well loves a double cabochon.
Yeah.
Hollow cabochons, or what do you call them? Oh, a carbuncle. So this is basically where you have the dome, but you don't have the flat back. The back curves up. And this is to reduce the amount of stone that light has to travel through. I think about this a lot as like a shit garnet cut. So when your garnet is really, really dark, almost black, you can kind of almost shave it down so that light is coming through. Enough light comes through that it looks purple or it looks red.
Yeah, so you're just trying to sort of stop that sort of really dark brown color and try and give it a bit more redness. Yeah.
I see you have a Latin word here. Tell me more.
Oh, yeah. Apparently carbuncle comes from carbunculus, which means little coal in Latin, because they used to, when they found them, thought they looked like glowing coal embers. But basically what we've just said debunks that, because unless you've cut them into a carbuncle, they don't look very bright. So,
I mean, I guess there must have been garnets in history that were hollowed out by the perils of life in nature.
Yeah.
Eagles dropping it, etc.
In the manner of a small rounded head.
A lot of time for the cabochon. People think it's a cheap cut, but I've seen some beautiful cap set jewelry. I own a lot of it because I buy every cabochon I see.
Yeah, no, I think they're good too. In fact, I saw a lovely cabochon cut Zavarite today, and that was beautiful.
Did you?
Yeah.
I just set some cab rubies, which I was disappointed about, but actually seeing them, I was like, I get it. I get the vision.
Yeah, they look really cool. Yeah.
Very nice.
Let's move on to sort of going really deep into internal features, so inclusions. And there are some specific inclusions that we want to be aware of that we were talking about last.
Sorry to interrupt you. Shall we preface this by saying, so once you've got your color, luster, cut, transparency, and measurements, don't forget your measurements, y'all. Vol is not an answer, apparently.
Yeah.
The next two things that you want to observe are the internal features and then the external features. And once you have those things, you're ready to move on to testing with your equipment. So internal features first. What are we looking for?
We're looking for inclusions. So these are sort of anything within the body of the stone. So it could be crystals, gases, liquids. I mean, that's basically what they are. Any sort of matter within the stone that shouldn't necessarily be there. So we refer to them as monophase, two-phase, or three-phase. So the monophase, you can have a solid, a liquid, or a gas. Two-phase is a solid and a gas, a solid and liquid, or a liquid and a gas. So like two together. And then the three-phase would be all three together as one.
And they can tell you so much about what you're looking at and also where it comes from. So when you get to a certain level, you'll be memorizing like the inclusions in Kashmiri sapphires. And it sounds like it's going to be awful. But actually, when you start looking at these stones in real life, it's very cool to look at something and know that what you're seeing makes sense for where it's from and can help you place it in the wider context of the world.
Absolutely. So when you're referring to these inclusions and you're sort of, recording them, you should be referring to them as the quantity, the color, the shape, and the orientation of them. So the example I thought of was an abundance of yellowish fibrous strands radiating outwards from a central nucleus would describe
a horsetail inclusion.
A horsetail inclusion, which is
Yay!
a diagnostic
inclusion.
So if you see a horsetail
what's a
in something,
diagnostic conclusion, Simon?
So in the last episode, we were talking about one and dunning your gem ID. And if you've got a diagnostic inclusion, that's pretty much going to do it for you. You will, if you see these inclusions, then these are going to be like, well, there you go. That's what that is.
A diagnostic inclusion really is an inclusion that you will only see in a specific type of gem and that will allow you to make a positive ID. I mean, this, especially at Foundation at Gem A, this was my bread and butter. I ate this shit up because they are so helpful.
So let's go through some of them.
Indeed. Should we do it one by one?
Yep.
After you, monsieur.
Okay. Thanks. So bamboo, for example, actinolite crystals which resemble bamboo, which you will find in emerald. I'm not actually sure that's a diagnostic inclusion.
I think it was, so they're in Russian emeralds. I don't think that bamboo is diagnostic.
No, I'm not sure it is either. So I'll fuck that up, but it's okay. So
that's okay. It's nice to remember bamboo. It's bringing back a stress memory of doing flashcards on a train.
Bamboo is an important inclusion in emeralds, basically. And whilst you see things that are similar to that, I'm not sure they look exactly the same, but it's probably not going to help you properly diagnose it.
One that is totally diagnostic and that I love. So also the other thing to remember about diagnostic inclusions is you have to describe them and then you can say what it is. So think of the name that we're going to give you as like something you put in inverted commas as if you're talking to a friend. So this is, if you see quote unquote intersecting stress fractures resembling a centipede, you are looking at quote unquote centipede inclusions in a feldspar variety moonstone, and that is diagnostic. You're not going to see them anywhere else. We'll put up an Instagram post when this story comes, or when this podcast comes out. I'll make Simon hand draw all of these inclusions for you.
Okay, yeah, I'm game.
I'll do a couple.
So the next one would be if you see rows of fluid-filled, partially healed fractures, often with iron staining, resembling the stripes of a tiger, you have tiger stripes. And you see these in purple amethyst. So I've put purple there because actually you can see these in citrine, because citrine and amethyst is pretty much the same thing.
They're but if you siblings.
But this is diagnostic. If you see a purple stone with tiger stripes in it, it's an amethyst. Which
is useful, although bearing in mind, very few amethysts are actually included at all.
True.
So in the field, I don't know how helpful this is, but I certainly love it. I love seeing tiger stripes. I just think they're so cool. And you'll start to get like your favorite diagnostic inclusions for sure. One of mine, which we were just discussing, radiating fibers of asbestos fanning out from a central small chromite crystal. This is a horsetail inclusion. This is demantoid garnet. And this is one of the very cool inclusions that is so specific to this stone that it actually makes your specimen more valuable if it's present, which is so cool.
particularly if it's centrally orientated, then yeah, you've got a very valuable bit of material on your hands there.
So this is one where if a cutter got a crystal of demantoid garnet, they would be looking to center that as much as they could, as opposed to eradicate it, which many cutters are trying to do with many other stones.
Potentially at the expense of weight retention as well, because it's so valuable.
Indeed. And this next one is actually the closest to my heart, because in our foundation, we had some of these. What's next?
So a radiating stress disc fracture surrounding a small crystal inclusion resembling a lily pad. And these are called lily pad inclusions. And you see them in peridot.
Justice for peridot. Everybody hates peridot but me.
So this is another one of those ones that you actually do see. You see like radiating disc fractures in other stones. But if you see it in a greenish yellow stone, you're looking at peridot, because you won't see like a stress halo in any other greenish yellow stone.
This next one is another one I love. So it's fine hollow growth tubes oriented parallel to one another. And this is rain in a barrel variety aquamarine. But it can actually be in any barrel. Is that right? Did we have it in we saw it in something crazy. I feel like it can be in heliodor. It can be in...
Yeah, you can get
and it's always down the C-axis. So if you're orientating your instruments the same direction as rain, you can get some interesting results.
Yes, also if you're trying to find an interference figure in this material and you see the rain, then you need to just put the conoscope right at the end of the rain, and that's where you're going to see your interference figure, because you see that down the C-axis too in beryl.
This next one is your favorite, I feel.
Yeah, how did you know?
There was a moment in time where Simon would not shut the fuck up about this inclusion. Every time I spoke to him, he mentioned this inclusion.
So this is a fine network of fluid-filled fracture inclusions resembling hair or a spider's web, and these are called trichites. And yeah, I really like them.
They're in tourmaline. Is that right?
Tourmaline. That's right. Yeah.
After our exam, we had this big group chat, and Simon kept talking. Everybody was actually talking about trichites. I don't know why, but it was this I looked down, I had 50 text messages, and they were all about trichites. And then in our exam, Simon was like, trichites, that was a tourmaline. I was like, fuck's sake. Should have read that fucking group chat. I got it right.
What you want? Simple as that. Get it under the microscope.
All right. This next one is my personal favorite, maybe. I hold this stone very dear to my heart. Radial tension disc cracks. These are sun spangles in amber. So it happens when you clarify amber by heating it very gently, and it basically turns the bubbles into sun discs with almost lotus flower patterns on them.
Yeah,
they're incredibly beautiful. They are incredibly diagnostic. The minute you see it, you know exactly what you've got, and you know that it's been treated. So it's a 2-for-1 in terms of impressing your mother-in-law. 10 out of 10 would recommend the sun spangle.
And then finally, for our diagnostic ones, this isn't actually literally considered diagnostic
it used
anymore.
To be.
Yeah,
it used to be.
So this could actually tell you where the stone was from. And actually, if you do see this, you can be pretty confident. And it's a fluid-filled jagged cavity with a small gas bubble and a solid crystal inclusion enclosed within the jagged cavity. This is known as a 3-phase inclusion, and historically told you that your emerald was from Colombia.
Which makes it very expensive and desirable.
Very expensive. If the stone's old enough, you could be pretty certain that the stone was from Muzo, Colombia too. So this is a really specific thing. But now you get stones from other regions that have these 3-phase inclusions, so it's sort of muddied the water a bit.
Alas, scientific advancement. What is it good for?
I know, not just for fucking pissing people off, I suppose.
Okay. So if your inclusion is not diagnostic, that doesn't mean it's not important.
Absolutely not.
Simon, you said something really lovely, which was, go. You say it, because I can see it there now.
I don't know.
At the bottom.
I don't know what it was. You say it.
Simon wrote on his piece of paper, inclusions tell a story about a gemstone, where it's from and what it's been through. And I think that's really true. That's really a really lovely way to think about it. You know, they're so important. So what are some of the big ones that maybe you might want to notice or note down?
So feathers and fingerprints, which are sort of partially healed fractures. You see them in lots of corundum varieties, so your rubies and your sapphires. You'll get really familiar with them. They can, like, depending on how they look, they can be, might tell you that the stone's been heat treated, because they tend to expand a little bit more if you under heat treatment.
And also really, really important when you come across them to look at them very closely, because they can tell you so much about your stone and whether it's natural or whether it's synthetic, but you have to really know what you're looking for. And lots of gemologists get it twisted, and it's always sad to me.
And then there's a few others to keep an eye out for, like silk is one that's referred to a lot, and that would be sort of fine rutile needles, also in corundum. This is your cashmere stuff that it's full of silk. So this hallowed,
kind of milky, yeah.
It gives it a velvety like look because they're very fine. They reflect the light, or scatter the light, should I say, and they create a sort of hazy, velvety appearance in the stone.
Very attractive.
Yeah, and then like you'll sort of see other inclusions. Like, you'll literally see like crystal inclusions. So like if you've got a spinel octahedron, you can see little spinel octahedrons in spinels.
And you could literally just describe them. So just describe what you see. So rod-like inclusions, gas tubes, crystal inclusions, dark crystal inclusions, metallic crystal inclusions. Like the more descriptive that you can get, you don't have to know 100% what something is, especially if you don't have a microscope, but you'll start getting an idea of where certain things are appearing and why.
But if you do have a microscope and you literally see an octahedron in a crystal, in a gemstone, then say it like it is. That's what it is.
It's all very meta, these gemstones. Like Montana sapphires have loads of perfectly formed spinel cubic crystals in them, which is so cool.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, really, really love that.
Love a Montana saph.
Yeah, I do too, actually. We like bicolor things, don't we?
We do. Put the party color, the bicolor, get all those coloring elements in there. That's what I say.
Exactly. Mix it all up, stir it all up. And then finally, we're going to move on to optical effects, which is something you need to look out for, because that's going to tell you what a lot of things are. We're not going to spend loads of time talking about these because we'll probably do specific episodes about each of the things. But some to be aware of are chatoyancy, which is the cat's eye effect. Tell us a bit about chatoyancy.
So chatoyancy is that it's a kind of lovely line of light that cuts directly down a stone. It's caused by light reflecting off of inclusions, essentially. There's a lot of very specific ways that you need to word what's going on, which we'll talk about, but lots of your very famous stones. So for example, a chrysoberyl, cat's eye, milk and honey chrysoberyl, people love a cat's eye. And kind of cat's eye plus, tell us about what that might be, Simon.
Cat's eye plus, I don't know what you mean.
It's asterism. It's more rave.
Sorry, yeah. So this is like cat's eye on acid. So your inclusions that are causing the cat's eye are just 2 or 3-fold, and they're causing extra rays. So if you've got one band of light coming across these stones have to be domed, so they have to be cut as cabochons. They have to have a domed surface. And yeah, if you've got the inclusions that create the chatoyancy, the cat's eye effect, but 3-fold of them, then you're going to have 3 rays of a star, and it's going to create like a star image coming across the domed top of the stone. Which
Some very
cool.
valuable corundum, sapphires, rubies will have asterism. Many
Very
of them,
valuable.
Craig tells us, are in safes in different places in Hatton Garden.
Yeah, it's a really good colour. And then finally, we'll move on to sort of iridescence and play of colour and things like that. So this is different colours of the spectrum returning to your eye off gem material because of, well, tell us.
It's called thin film interference, but basically what's going on is there's lots and lots of layers of something, and they're very close together. And so when the light hits it, it kind of spazzes out and it goes, whoa. And some of it is reflected and some of it is split, and it all forms this kind of chaos soup. And within that, some of the waves of light find each other and they move on in sync, and that's what returns the color to your eye.
I knew you'd tell that in a much nicer way than I would have done. I'd have made that sound really boring and technical.
I had to sit in a pub for 2 hours trying to figure out what the fuck thin film interference was.
Yeah, no, you told that really nicely. It made it sound really sort of, like they're holding hands and sort of rejoining. Yeah,
well, the last two, these are my two favorite, aventurescence and adularescence, the Schiller effect. Tell us about those. They're very romantic, I think.
So aventurescence is like the spangly look, and again caused by inclusions. So you might get little sort of platelets of metallic inclusions, so like highly reflective stuff within a stone. So aventurine quartz has little mica platelets, all planar oriented, so they're all sort of facing up one way, and when the light hits off them, they'll sort of sparkle and spangle off these inclusions within.
Oregon Sunstone, and that one of my favorite stones of all time.
Oregon Sunstone is quite nice because it has like a fine dusting of copper inclusions in it, whereas normal sunstone has hematite inclusions, and that's a bit more spangly again. So it's not quite as the Oregon one's
not quite
a bit
as
more
romantic.
Yeah, it's a bit more glittery, isn't it? The Oregon ones.
Yeah, it's just got a certain je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, I mean, unlike the Goldstone, which I think is a hate crime. And
I especially like the bright pink ones.
They're absolutely awful. So
I grew up in California, so we bought a lot of fool's gold. We bought a lot of Goldstone.
Goldstone is basically glass that's had a load of bits of copper chucked in it and then just sort of mixed around.
Someone cut it up with scissors.
And it looks shit. I've got absolutely no time at all for Goldstone. So
in a way, it's kind of a blessing, Simon, because we could never get it confused with the real thing.
It's true.
If it was better, it would be scarier.
Yeah, you can't mistake that. It's the ugliest thing. I hate them.
All right, tell us about adularescence. And each of these will have their own episode, don't worry.
So actually, adularescence has a much more glamorous and romantic feel about it because I have described adularescence as the shimmering moon reflecting off a body of water at night.
That is poetry, y'all. That is gemological poetry. But if you think about moonstone, how it kind of has this blue glow that almost lives outside the stone. It's like it's just hovering straight above it. I love moonstone, and that is your adularescence. It's also called the Schiller effect.
Yeah, and it's actually very beautiful. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and that's observing 101.
That's observing 101. We've covered everything, quite a lot. We've had a few technical glitches in this episode, so
only because Simon keeps freezing, but we're going to figure it out.
We'll hopefully figure it out. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Great. Well, guys, thank you for joining us, for sitting around with us. And we have a couple of shout outs, don't we, Si?
We do have a couple of shout outs. We owe a lot of the creation of this podcast to our podcast dad. Our podcast dad is Rob. He's an old friend of mine, and I reached out to him to say that we were going to do this, and no, he was just all in, really helpful.
Amazing. Such an amazing ally in our fight to bring gemology to the people.
Yeah, absolutely extraordinary levels of help and assistance he's given us. So appreciate you, Dad.
Round of applause. Thank you, Dad.
And then who else do we have to say thank you to?
Our beautiful logo. So if you guys are first of all, follow us on Instagram and TikTok. We are Facet Nation. And if you are there, you will have seen our gorgeous logo.
Gemology, I think, actually.
Okay, sorry. I'm in charge of it, but I didn't set it up, so I couldn't possibly know that. I'm just a girl with several advanced degrees.
Yes.
We have the most beautiful logo. We both love it. I was going to say what the stone in it is, but I don't think that we're above doing a guess this stone. I'm going to make people guess what stone it is, and then they can have one if they get it right.
Can they? Are we going to do that?
We'll pick one winner.
Okay,
they
fine.
Can have
one
that
winner.
stone.
They can't all have one. Okay, fine.
They're not, it's not, I'm not giving away rubies here, so just.
I didn't realize the Facet Nation bank balance was quite so,
They're in the desk drawer already. Don't panic.
Okay, cool. Right. Well, yeah.
I may need your testing kits.
We might need that too. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fine. Yeah. I'm thinking of making some merch out of the logo because I love it so much. So Yeah,
I
that
do
might be
too.
on
I'd
the
like a
horizons too.
keychain and a hat.
Hmm.
But anyway, back to the point of the discussion, which was the shout out for.
Oh, we didn't actually say, did we? Yeah.
No.
So Olivia, was generally extremely generous with her time as well, and
The logo is just sick. We love it so much.
She created a few options for us, and we both immediately settled on the one that we chose, and yeah, we literally love it. So, Olivia, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rob and Olivia. We appreciate you so much.
Yeah.
And
Right,
also, yeah. So we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
To talk about, well, we've got a few episodes coming up, so we're going to talk about, what do you think, sapphires?
Yeah, maybe we'll do that, yeah. And then there's also
Write us in with any questions. If you drop us an email to simon@facetnation.co.uk with your questions.
I think you can actually email Facet Nation at facetnation.co.uk now. Questions, mailbox.
It's been a pleasure.